Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bahu. Wait, the now. Hare Krishna. We can just put the dhotis down, tell him. Rope line niche kar do. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhashatade Shatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gautase Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Go Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone for today morning discussion. We are reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter number 4. We are discussing about the subject matter of Srimati Radharani as been explained by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But before that, today we like to read a verse from 10th canto, 39th chapter, verses 53 to 55. 9.39.53. Is it visible? Sunandananda Pramukhe Parshade Sanakadibhi Suresha Brahma Rudraye Navabhischadujatame Praharada Narada Vasu Pramukhe Bhagavatottame Stuyamanam Pratak Bhaver Vachubhe Amalatmabhi Shriya Pushtya Gira Kantaya Kitaya Tushtaye Kitaya Tushtaye Yurjaya Vidyaya Shaktaya Mayaya Cha Nishevitam. What word translation? Sunandananda Pramukhe, headed by Sunanda and Nanda. Parshadehe, by his personal attendants. Sanakadivihi, by Sanak Kumar and his brothers. Asura Ishahe, by the chief devtas. Brahma Rudradhyahe, headed by Brahma and Rudra. Navabhihi, 9. Cha, and Duja Uttamahe, by the chief Brahmanas, headed by Marichi. Praharad Narada Vasu Pramukhahe, headed by Prahlad, Narada and Uparichara Vasu. Bhagavat Uttamahe, by the most exalted devotees. Stuyamanam, being by each and a different loving attitude. Vachobhihi, with words. Amalatmabhi, sanctified. Shriya Pushtaya Girakante Kirte Tushtaya Lya Urjaya. This is the thing for which we are reading this verse today. I am giving the reference from Srimad Bhagavatam. Not only reference, actually, reference comes from second canto only. Just to give you a little background. So here, Akrura had come on the order of Kamsa. Can you just please keep your mobiles in silent mode? So, here Akrura have come on the order of Kamsa to bring Krishna and Balaram. They are close to, Krishna is around close to 10 years, 11 months, as Srila Jiva Goswami describes. And now Akrura is taking Krishna back, Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. On the way, Akrura, they halted, you know the pastime. And Akrura had gone to take bath in Yamuna. And that's the time he had darshan of Vishnu. So what he saw in that darshan is being described. So we see about Vyasadeva in the first canto having darshan. When he got into the meditation, after Nadmani asked him to get into the meditation, that time there we saw he's seeing Maya Shakti standing behind the Lord, on the back of the Lord. So there we saw about Yogamaya and Mahamaya. And here we get into further details. Shriya Pushtaya Gira Kantaya Kitaya Tushtaya Tushti Ilaya Urjaya. By his internal potencies, Shri, go ahead.
By his internal potencies,
Shri Pushti Gir Kanti Kiti Tushti Ila and Urja. So he had darshan of the 6 potencies. Now you might wonder, there are 3 potencies, there are 6 potencies, there are unlimited potencies. You know? So it's not there, but among them the 3 main potencies. So when they're talked about here, so let's take a look at what are the 6 potencies. But internal energy is classified into 3 main potencies: Sandhini, Samvit and Haladini Shakti. Alright. Vidyaya, Avidyaya. Wise potencies of knowledge and ignorance. Shaktaya, by his internal pleasure potency. Mayaya, by his material creative potency. Cha, and Nishevitam, being served. Translation purport by the disciples of His A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Encircling the Lord, worshipping were Nanda Sunanda, his other personal attendants, Sanaka, and other Kumaras, and great devtas like Brahma, Rudra, and other chief devtas. The 9 chief Brahmanas, the best of the saintly devotees, headed by Prahlad, Narada, Oprichara Vasu. Each of these great personalities was worshipping the Lord by chanting sanctified words of praise in his own unique mood. Also in attendance were the Lord's principal internal potencies, Shri, Pushti, Gir, Kanti, Kirti, Tushti, Ila, and Urja, as well as his material potencies, Vidya, Avidya, and Maya, and his internal pleasure potency, Shakti. Quoting Srila Vishnu Thakur, he explains the Lord potencies mentioned in these verses. Shri refers to wealth. Pushti, that are external potencies who cause a living entity's liberation and bondage respectively. Shakti is his internal pleasure potency, that is Haladini. Maya is also an internal potency, who is the basis of Vidya and Avidya. The word Cha implies the presence of the Lord's marginal energy, that is Tatashta, Jiva Shakti, who is subordinate to Maya. Lord Vishnu was being served by all these personified potencies. So yesterday when we were talking about Sandhini, Samvid, Haladini Shakti, I was saying these are personalities. And Haladini, which is the source of all, Sandhini and Samvid also, she is embodied, or she is a personification. She is a manifestation of Srimati Radharani. So just to put some points together, just to kind of draw a mental map here so you understand what's going on. Now with this background, now if you look at Bhagavad Gita, there's a 9th chapter. What is that verse? Devi Yeshu Ganamai Mama Maya Duratya. So Devi. So that comes, and then similarly comes, open 9th chapter 14th verse, 13 or 14 verse, about Mahatmanas, no, not Mahatmanas, about what does Satatam Kitayanto Mam. So go up. Mahatmanas Tumam Partha Daivim Prakritim Ashritaha. So I had explained in Bhagavad Gita class what Devi means here is Daivim Prakritim Ashritaha. So great devotees, all the devotees of the Lord, not only great devotees, all of us are supposed to function under this Devi. Then what is that? Devi Yeshugunamai, that's also Devi. So it's part of all internal potency. That internal potency in this creation manifests as external energy. It is not that something has separately manifested. Are you getting that point? So like this verse over here says, Maya is an internal potency who is the basis of Vidya and Avidya. So this is all manifesting from the Lord. When it comes to the external world, it has a particular function, and internal world, it has a particular function. Now, what is an application of this Sandhini? Okay, now before we get into application, how does this Sandhini, Samvit, and Haladini Shakti manifest in the material world for us? Because we are we are Prakriti, we are Tatsashta. All of you move forward. There's a lot of space here. Scoop in. You go ahead, you can come in front of the camera, right? No, you will not interfere. Scoop in. What was I saying? Sandhini, Samvit, and Haladini. So Sandhini is Sat feature. So in material world, what we have? So go to 15th chapter, verse number 1. Bhagavad Gita. Ardhva Moolam Adha Shakam. So go to the translation. Read out the translation. Can I read out the translation as the mic? Give it to somebody who can read it quickly.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is a knower of the Vedas.
So this verse, Krishna says, this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. We need to change the shades. You have in the daytime you have made a night. These are for the night mode, not morning. Yeah, make it white. Yeah, this is better. And the same behind. It's feeling so dull here. So here Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. If in spiritual world we have Sandhini, Samvit, Haladini, what will happen in material world? Sandhini is Sat. So what is the material world? Asat. Spiritual world, Samvit, is full of knowledge. So what is this material world? Avidya. And then spiritual world is Haladini, Anandmaya Bhyasat. That's our nature. Then what is the nature of material world? Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. And more precisely, go to 15th chapter, verse number 7. Mamayvamso Jivaloka Jivabhuta Sanatana Manaha Shashrani Indriyani Prakritisthani Karshati. So this verse says friction, karshan is friction. In this material world, Mamayvamso Jivaloka, although is my part and parcel, belongs to spiritual world, Mamayvamso Jivaloka Jiv Bhuta Sanatana, eternal, but Mana Shashrani Indriyani, Mana Shashta, mind plus 5 becomes 6. There are 5 senses plus 1 mind. Mana Shashrani Indriyani. So Mana plus Indriyani becomes 6, 5. In contact of this and under the influence of Prakriti, Sthani Karshati, he is going through challenges. हिंदी में कहेंगे रगड़ रहा है, बेवजह में रगड़ा पेटी हो रही है. This is that what it means. So the point here is Prakriti Sthani Karshati. So we as an individuals, as a practicing devotees, have a choice to make. We can function, take shelter of the internal energy, or we can function under the external energy. Now the question is, how do you make this choice, and how does choice plays out? Is it something when the gambling machine, the slot machine, you can just change the slot into it? How does this happen is my question now. Day after tomorrow, today is Friday, is Srimati Radharani's appearance. She is the personification of the internal energy. So taking shelter of Srimati Radharani, Radhe Radhe is all good. I hope where I'm going and how we're building the subject. Sentiments are good, but we have to go beyond the sentiments now. Understand the right technicality. So what it means, how as a practicing devotee we can in true sense take shelter of internal energy of the Lord, or else continue to function external energy. So what will dictate we functioning under the external energy, or somebody shifting the zone from the external energy, Mahamaya to Yogamaya? What will be the process for that? Any verse from Bhagavad Gita? This is all Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, actually Krishna said everything. If we have the overall understanding, therefore when we read Acharya's commentary, they bring out incredible insights into it. Prabhupada largely focused on practical application, but when you go into Acharya commentaries, it brings incredible insights, because Krishna said, whatever I had to tell you, I have told you about everything. Which means there is a reference of Srimati Radharani also in Bhagavad Gita. It means there is a reference of Sandhini, Samvit, Haladini, Shakti also in Bhagavad Gita. There is everything. So you can, as deep you want, you can get it. Just like we talked about this, Mahatmanas tu Maham Pata, Devim Prakritim Ashritaha. Devim, what is that Devim refers to? And that Devim refers to Srimati Radharani. That Devim refers to, that's there, right there is a reference. Who says Radharani is not there in Bhagavad Gita? Alright, so what is means? Working under the shelter or guidance of internal energy or the external energy. And yeah, anyone? Anyone online wants to reflect upon? Okay, if it's taking a while, very first lecture of Prabhupada, which we heard on Monday morning, at the end of the lecture, Prabhupada said, so today is Radhashtami. We should pray to Radharani. Anyone remembers what was the prayer Prabhupada said we should pray to Radharani? What did Prabhupada say about what we should pray for Radharani? Pray to Radharani, not for Radharani. That was the last point Prabhupada made in his lecture. And that's how the lecture ended. Okay. Yeah, that's the verse. What does it mean? अच्छा तूने वर्स लिखा मीनिंग नहीं लिखा okay. Okay, go back to Mahatmana Sumampata verse. Is there? Please read the translation. Somebody read out the translation. Are we showing these verses online or no? Okay.
O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible.
Go to the next verse. What do you mean by fully engaged in the devotion service? Satatam Kitayantu Mam. That's the next verse. Yeah, we can read the verse. Go ahead. Satatam Kitayantu Mam Yatantascha Dharvrataha Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upasate. What does the word Yukta means?
Regulated.
Okay. Yukta Ahara Viharasya. What does the word Yukta means? So Krishna is saying regulated devotional service. This is Vaidisata Bhakti. No, this is not Vaidi. This is Raganuga verse. I'm speaking on this now a little more deeper. Huh? This is not Vaidisata Yukta. This is not regulated. And beauty of Sanskrit is it has different levels of meaning. So what Yukta means? Included. Yukti. Okay. Engaged. Actually, Yukti means engaged. Okay. With love, yukti with love, okay. Nitya yukta upasate. Alright, let's read the translation.
Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination. Going down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion.
So these are the people who are always function under Haladini Shakti. Without being under the shelter of Haladini Shakti, this conduct is not possible only. Remember yesterday what we spoke about Haladini Shakti? She is the one who gives pleasure. So we were talking about Rasu Varjam, Rasu Pasya. No, Param Dashvani Vartate. So how do we get that higher taste? That higher taste comes from the blessing of Haladini Shakti, blessing of Srimati Radharani. That gives us Tushti Pushti, as 11th canto talks about it. From where do we get the Tushti and Pushti? Tushti is nourishment, Pushti, satisfaction, or either way. Santushti and Pushti, satisfaction and nourishment. How do we get, from where do we get in devotional life? Do we agree and acknowledge the environment around us is completely unfavorable for us to practice bhakti? Yes or no? Everything around us favors us to go against bhakti, to engage into more sinful life. So if we are surrounded such a kind of environment where everyone is doing some kind of sinful activities, things for which our mind and senses are naturally attracted by default because of being in this world for so long, then how can somebody go against the whole society, the whole environment? It's just something like it's raining heavily and you're walking but not get drenched. How is it possible? If there is a heavy thunderstorm, if there is a rain, if there is a downpour, and if you're walking outside, how is it possible for you not to get wet? It is not possible. It just doesn't make sense. But yes, it becomes possible if you're under the shelter of umbrella. Only possibility is if you're under the shelter of umbrella. Yes, little bit sprinkling will happen. We may get a little bit drenched here and there. The only thing is if you're under the shelter of umbrella. Similarly, when a devotee is under the shelter of Aladini Shakti or potency, despite whatever the environment around us, we will not get that affected. Otherwise, it's completely hopeless and demoralizing. We are trying to restrain and refrain ourselves. Just like this week I was discussing, I said we need to upgrade our prasadam menu because it's not up to the mark. We need to. So there was a debate. What is the need? We are doing very nicely. I said, Prabhu, some of you are sitting in the ashram and you think life is all good because you don't get to walk outside and see what happens. Can you imagine the devotees who are going to office every day and they say during their lunch hour, everyone goes to canteen, cafeteria, and there are pizzas, there are burgers, there are, क्या कहते हैं, छोले भटूरे, dosa, you just name it, I don't know what all items, there are all kind of items, and you sitting in the ashram inside the four walls, you don't have that exposure now, but you recently had that exposure because you just have joined all of you. And it's been for me 15 years now, close to that I left it, all this thing. But you've been around, how can you be not sensitive to see what all they must be going through, and then they come back, and then they get Thanda Prasad. Isn't that a tapasya? For how long do we expect them to tolerate this? For how long would they function? And if the prasadam doesn't have a quality, I said, who will practice bhakti then? Because at the first level, prasad is mercy. Prasadam sarva dukkhanam. The second chapter was number 64, 65. Krishna says about it. How prasadam by the mercy, and Prabhupada, what prasadam? Is mercy of Krishna. So through this anna that we eat, we get that tushti and pushti. So one is, we are at the level of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. We can get any madhukari, thandi, kachi, roti, and we can still seize at prasadam and treat that roti as papad and eat it papad. And be of that level. If we are now at a level, we have to be practical. So we have to see how we facilitate so that devotees are able to experience the shelter. Not that we make a life. And therefore Prabhupada said, don't make it unnecessary. You're already having so much austerity in this world. Do not create austerities unnecessarily by your behavior and conduct. Do not torture devotees by unnecessary austerities. Anyways, coming back to the point of Haladini Shakti. So a devotee being in this world, if there is a rain, it is not possible for him to get drenched unless until he is under the shelter of umbrella. And for us, the shelter is internal potency. That is Srimati Radharani, whose appearance day we are celebrating day after tomorrow. So what is the prayer that Prabhupada said we should pray to Srimati Radharani? And that is how we make a switch from Mahamaya to Yogmaya, or from the external energy to the internal energy. And I hope theoretically, technically, we are all clear. We Jivatmas have to always function under some energy. We cannot be independent. Prabhupada gives a beautiful example of a Sputnik. When a Sputnik is launched, there is something called as escape velocity. So, okay, by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, you got that escape velocity and you're launched into the space. Even then, you cannot function independently. You still need shelter. This is an example Prabhupada had given back in those days when Sputnik was launched. It's not that, so for example, let's say our space shuttle have landed on moon. Now, for it to come back, you still need a shelter of moon to get launched back again. Like that Prabhupada was saying. So we still need a shelter. So Prabhupada said the prayer that we should offer to Srimati Radharani is, my dear Srimati Radharani, kindly engage me in your devotional service. Kindly give me opportunity to render service. So from Haladini Shakti comes Samvit and Sandhini. To appreciate and understand Haladini, we can only do when we get shelter of Samvit Shakti. We can get shelter of Samvit when we take shelter of Sandhini. Without Sandhini shelter, you cannot get Samvit, and without Samvit, you cannot understand Haladini. And what is the verse that makes this point? 10th chapter, verse number 10. Tesham satata yuktanam. Where? Sandhini. Bhajatam priti purvakam. So this is Sandhini. And Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Krishna gives you Samvit. Enama upyantite. Then only we can understand Haladini. Then we can understand Srimati Radharani. So to understand Srimati Radharani, as Prabhupada said in the Monday morning lecture, to understand Krishna is impossible. Then what to speak of Srimati Radharani? Unless we understand the great man, we cannot understand his internal affairs. So to understand Krishna, the process begins, what is that? Ado Shaddata Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya. That is a process, that's how it begins. And now to understand the internal potency of the Lord, Sandhini, Samvit and Haladini. And from Haladini comes Samvit and Sandhini. Because she is the source of all and this is our functions. So any questions or comment on this aspect of it? This topic is a little bit sprinkled around Bhagavatam. In Prabhupada purpose, not has been. I just gave one purport here, one verse directly from Bhagavatam which speaks about it. Otherwise it's sprinkled. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it has been spoken a little bit. And other thing is, as I said, these three exist in this material nature in the form of Asat, Avidya and Dukhalaya. And why it becomes Dukhalaya? So perverted reflection, 15th chapter verse number 1, Udhamula Madashakam. So if in case we understand there is a suffering, there is Avidya, is Asat, which means spiritual world has to have the opposite of it. So that's another way to prove Sandhini Samvit and Haladini Shakti. Fine. So these are some thoughts on this topic of, and how do we understand this? Also, I made a point, Tesham Satyaktanam, and this kind of completes a whole circle. So, what do devotees in Vrindavan praise? Radhe Radhe, Jai Radhe. That's at Raganuga. What is in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti? We have to take shelter of Guru and Gauranga. So that's the process. Prabhupada said you cannot understand the Lordship unless somebody goes through the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To take a shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to take a shelter of a bona fide Guru. And that is what we are trying to do and understand here by coming to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's how, having sentiments, having attraction, which is no doubt, without a doubt is good. Now coming to the point of attraction, let's talk another principle. Next time I'll write down all these things, so you'll have a proper notes. I just have not actually, because of my schedules and activities, I just didn't pay attention to this topic at all. I just speak in the morning. But next time I can just prepare a wholehearted notes onto this, write down everything, so you'll have a better understanding. Now attraction, how does attraction functions? That's the nature of the soul. Every living entity is attracted to something. So what is the foundation of that attraction? That attraction is also the foundation of Haladini Shakti. So two things. We are as a practicing devotee, what are we trying to get attracted to? To the Lordships. Everything that we are doing, ultimately the goal is to develop prema for the Lord. That is attraction. Prema will happen later on. First will begin attraction. So attraction begins how? There are two things. One is attraction towards the Lord, and second is we have attraction to Asat. So what is the source of attraction? That is also Haladini Shakti. So Haladini Shakti, when we get that mercy and shelter of Haladini Shakti, then by the mercy of Srimati Radharani, we develop attraction for the Lord, for the spiritual paraphernalia, devotional paraphernalia. And that same Haladini Shakti, perverted reflection in material world, that gives attraction for Asat. And this is something you can take it as an homework. Isn't that amazing? I don't want to make further points onto it, but I just wanted to think about it. Isn't that amazing how a Chetana, a living entity, can get attracted to something which is non-living and leave the shelter of something which is supremely conscious? For example, let's say, relationships, husband, wife, daughter, son, mother, father. It is expected, traditionally used to happen in the past, that for the sake of relationship, you can give any asat, any material comforts, any material things and whatnot. How it happens today is a different thing, because we are becoming more and more jada, because we are getting into more and more ignorance. Therefore, people giving more value to asat than relationship. But even if traditionally you look at, we value more living relationships than asat. Although we may be attracted to it. Now today's generation is maybe more attracted to that. But within our heart, we are more attracted to something which is chetana, which is living. So now if you see from that perspective, we have given up the supreme consciousness, the universal consciousness, supreme consciousness. We have developed attraction for asat. And how it has happened? It has not happened overnight. Similarly, overnight transition will also not happen. Our attraction for asat have developed life after life after life, because we have continuously engaged with it. Let me give you a little Vedic perspective to it. In Vedic perspective, our prana gets nourished from prana in the ether. Why? Despite eating expensive foods, living in a lavish homes, yes, people feel so low in energy because our prana is not nourished. How prana is nourished? First is fresh air. So if you go for mountain, let's say if you go to some pure area, let's say Himalaya. This is one of the reasons that inspires me to go, just to heal ourselves in going those places. Because the pure air that we breathe, you see, you might fall sick here because of cold, but it's very rare to go to Himalayas and fall sick, except for Rishikesh and places where there is a lot of pollution now. But if you go up There is no question of falling sick, even if it is cold. Of course, we do something radical, that's a different thing. But you understand? Similarly, another prana that nourishes us is water. So, water in an element is needed, but what nourishes us is prana. So, if you ever gone to this, have tasted spring water, how many of you have had experience of tasting a spring water? How energized, even so much so, you can survive only on the spring water. You will not even need ahar. Why? Because what is sustaining you is prana. And why that water has a prana? Anything which is flowing when it comes to water will have life. Anything which is stagnant and stored would lose life. So therefore, if you look back in previous generation, they would always be at the banks of the river. Everything, Krishna's pastime, Ram's pastime, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, is always next to the river. Sarayu to Yamuna to Ganga, all the civilizations, everyone will go and drink of fresh water, flowing water. Because they had prana that will nourish. So I don't know why I came to this topic. Anyways, so this was some of the things. I'm just trying to help you understand the whole picture here. So you're able to see how it functions. And as we are living our life, it is very important for us to also, when we are practicing bhakti, also to withdraw ourselves from asat. We should not spend too much time with asat. That is the point which I was trying to make this. Yeah, now I realize. So what is it? Now you want to cultivate bhakti. You will not be able to cultivate bhakti if you are in too much contact with asat. Now what is that too much contact of asat that that can destroy our bhakti? That becomes our gadgets. I'm not talking about the inherent distraction the gadgets have. Just the plastic, it's all complete asat, it's dead matter. The more we spend time with that, it immediately cultivates ignorance, jada vidya. And therefore person becomes further dull-headed. For him to sit and understand. Okay, let me give you an example. Imagine all of you right now. How many of you were there in Oli in last Himalaya Yatra? Remember Jodhshrimat ke upar Oli, right? It took a lot of effort for us to reach there. And how many of you were there? Just 2-3 of you here. Anyone online who was there? And how many of you remember? We struggled so much to reach. कितनी दूर जाके हमें एक जगह मिली बैठी. And after sitting there, I believe that was the longest class I gave of the whole yatra. I anyways don't wear a watch because I don't like to get distracted with that idea of time. And best part is, chalo, speaker maybe in his own rasa. Audience was also happy. No audience had got distracted even once. Who had that experience? What am I making sense? No audience had got distracted. Why? Because we were in prana, sat. There was all nature, there was all purity there, unlike when you sit down. That makes a lot of difference. So I'm just making a point how in a practical life, how you can practice. So there has to be certain things you have to do. It's not that I just go into DT worship and do 16 hours is good enough. A consciousness is getting affected moment by moment by what we are associating with. So if now you go back to Prabhupada's formula, Prabhupada said morning Bhagavatam, evening Bhagavad Gita class. Morning Mangalati and Guru Puja, evening Gaura Aarti. It's a perfect solution. Why? Because rest of the day you're spending time with Jada. In the evening, you again get in touch with spiritual energy. And this is my experience. I just lately started here Gaura Aarti. Although Gaura Aarti is my favorite Aarti. Whenever I go to temple, I never miss the 7 to 7:30 throughout. I have to be in temple. Generally, I'm in temple hall from 7:30 to 7:45. Then I'll go attend Nasimha Aarti and then go to Balaji temple, chant my Gayatri. This is generally what I do because then it's like a perfect sandwich program. Unless there's a very important meeting, otherwise I often never skip that particular evening program. So despite being my favorite, I just never did it because we are in a certain environment and situation that would have been unfavorable. In the past when we've done it, we've got a complaint that there's a lot of noise. Even in that had happened over there. For those of you who are back at congregation and those of you who are at home, we have already started it. Please join here at the center. And those of you back at home, we got to have it. And do it as an experiment. Do it as a challenge. If you end doing it, do it for 7 days. And let's come back and talk to me. You can talk to me one-on-one. And tell me, if you did that for 7 days, how did you feel? Did you feel tushti and pushti or not? And I can bet you will have that experience. Of course, to create that experience, you have to have, you have to create an environment a little bit. And you see that. Therefore, there has to be culture. If in case you're not able to do that, invite devotees at your home. Once in a week for kirtan at your home. You will see how whole energy would change. Why the scripture says the Grihastha should invite sadhus? Why? Because of their constant touch with spiritual energy, their presence, their words will transform the energy in your house. And you will have the impact. And I believe some of you, if you go back when you had those kirtan programs or some programs like that, I believe you would have had that experience if you observe enough. That it creates an impact for a while. And of course, after a while, it again goes back. So these are the things that we need to do. We need to plan. We need to be strategic about it. How often at your home you're doing some kirtan? You do it yourself every day, fantastic. Otherwise, have some program where all the devotees can come. If not all, get some handful of devotees. At least if not, once in a week, so everyone can do it. Those of you, what is the purpose of community? The purpose of community is now we come together and practice together. Not that just we do it together by ourselves. That's the whole idea. Of course, if we had the facility that all of you could come at center, the best is center. There's nothing better than that. Morning, evening, come to center. Well, if that's not the facility available, at least do at your place, get the congregation nearby. And I can tell you, you just mark it as an action item. Do it for a month. These two things. Every day, hopefully all are doing morning aartis. Every day evening aarti, at the evening aarti. Particularly Tulsi Puja and Tulsi Aarti, Narasimha Aarti and Gaur Aarti. You can't do all three, do Gaur Aarti. And if you cannot do worship, at least just sing. Kirtan. I'm not talking about, I have not started Aarti. I've just started Kirtan because that is the foremost thing, Sankirtan. Begin with Sankirtan. If you have facility, then you go for Aarti. That is definitely added advantage. But if not, at least start with Sankirtan. You do this. And I would say not a week. I mean, after a week also you'll have an experience. But do it for a month. And in a month, at least for 1 or 2 times minimum. If you can't do it every week, at least once or twice, get devotees at your home and together do Aarti. And then you come back to me. And then you tell me if it clicked or not. If your whole experience, your whole, the night culture, falling asleep in time, not wasting time in the night, doing this and that, you'll see eventually everything will settle. Because of prolonged touch all through the day with asat, by the time at evening comes, our asat activities further increases. We waste time here and there, we get into arguments, we get into debates, it just doesn't work. And oftentimes, therefore, I don't take much, unless it's a management meeting, I don't take any personal call after evening. Because, the person has been already frustrated. He's going to download his energy onto me. So you might have noticed, I don't know if I often call for meeting in the first half. Anyone is troubled, anyone is having anything, anyone wants to complain, anyone wants to share some feedback or something, I would say, let's meet in the morning, in the first half. And why I say first half? Hopefully that person would have chanted his rounds, he would have taken darshan of the Lordship, would have done Aarti. Now he's going to come with some touch with spiritual energy. Now our conversation can have sense. Otherwise in the evening, I don't know how many have noticed, it always turns into Mahabharata. It always turns into Mahabharata. So these are some of the things, application on how this Sat, Asat, Sandhini, Sambhit, Haradini. If you understand this, you can strategize your things. And for congregation, do not have any serious conversation in the evening. You can think about it. Now I know some of you say, Prabhuji, that's the only time we have. I don't know, you got to plan it out. If you don't believe me, then do this thing. Next time when you have a serious conversation to do, just somehow let the night pass. After the whole morning program ends, then now sit and have a conversation and think for yourself, was it a little better than before? You test it for yourself. I'm giving you clues. You experiment for yourself if it works or not. I'm just not speaking in theory. I have done it, I've experimented, I've tried it, and it always makes a difference. And you might notice it is a little different. Now, it could be an extreme scenario. The other person, his whole night is thinking with anger and all that. And the morning anger. And he does this chanting also with anger, that it could have a compound interest. That's another situation, okay? All right. So I just wanted to span and give you some clues about how all this energy functions, how we can be careful about it. And be conscious. Particularly when you're dealing with seniors or senior Vaishnavas, be conscious when you're speaking. Reflect upon, am I functioning on the platform of material energy or have taken proper shelter. Just like you will see in prayers also, Yudhishthira Maharaj, a classic example, whenever he would meet a senior, any sadhu, first of all, he will offer respects. What is the idea of offering respect? It's just switching your energy. Because when you function under asat feature or avidya feature, it is always about complaining and demanding. But when you make a switch, when you offer respects, just like how do we, for example, let's say you're in front of the deities, how are you supposed to make prayers? How does the flow of prayer goes if you go through the pages of Bhagavatam? My dear Lord, this is my wish list, handing over to you, please fulfill it. Has it ever happened? If you read through the pages of Bhagavatam prayers, it always begins with glorification of the Lord. It's reminding, it's not for Lord, but it's reminding for ourselves also who we are dealing with. It always begins with glorify. My dear Lord, Namaste Purusham Tvadam Ishvara Prakriti Param. You're not of this world, you're of the spiritual world. Your body is not made of matter, you are Satchit Ananda. So it's like preparing consciousness and then going into it. So I'm just giving some clues how to function around. Otherwise, we're too much on material energy. We function too much on material energy. For example, His Holiness Satchidananda Swami Maharaj, I learned this point from him. Whenever you will have to go and meet with him, manage a meeting, first of all he'll say, have you noticed what is the purpose? You might have noticed when we have a meeting, we offer pranam. We have these prayers to Guru, to Gauranga and everything. What is the purpose of it? Are we asking for blessings before getting in the meeting? My dear Lord, please give me blessing. There's going to be Mahabharata. So please give me the strength to face the Mahabharata. Is that what the purpose for it? What is the purpose of offering prayers before getting into the meeting? And if you're not doing it, you should do it before having any conversation. Why? Is again taking shelter of internal energy. Aligning ourselves, bringing that consciousness. Om Agyan Timrandasya. If we chant consciously, is that exactly what we're doing? Aligning ourselves under the internal potency, internal energy of the Lord, taking shelter of Guru and Gauranga, reminding ourselves of the mercy of the Guru that we receive, greatness of Srila Rupa Goswami, greatness of Vaishnavas, greatness of Sri Goswami, greatness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Parshad, greatness of Krishna and greatness of Srimati Radharani and Sakhis. That's what it is. Vandeham Shri Krishna, that particular thing, it ends with Radharani and Gopis. We are immediately aligning ourselves with spiritual energy. So then we function with that way, that state of consciousness. So these are some of the clues that Srila Prabhupada gave us a system, even unconsciously, of course we should do consciously, is to bring us back again under the shelter of spiritual energy. This is how it functions. So these are some clues for all of you. And now from this point of view, you can observe how everything functions that way. Okay? Anything on this, Samvit, Sandhini, Haladini? Fine. I guess I have shared good enough points here. Let's go back to Chaitanya Charitamrita. So let's now talk about Haladini Shakti. Text number 68. Haladini rasara prema sara bhava bhavira parama kashta nama bhava. The essence of the Haladini potency is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion bhava, and ultimate development of emotion is bhava. So what is the uniqueness of Srimati Radharani will be now highlighted in this set of verses. So product of the Haladini Shakti is love of Godhead, which has two divisions, name of pure love of Godhead and adulterated love of Godhead. So Haladini Shakti attraction I spoke about. Attraction we develop for the Lord is from the Haladini Shakti, and attraction that we have from Asat, that is an adulterated, which means under the modes of material nature. Only when Haladini Shakti emanates from Sri Krishna and is bestowed upon the living being to attract him does the living being becomes a pure lover of God. So we say becoming a lover of the God is not one's effort, it's mercy of the Lord, right? That's the point here. Haladini Shakti appearing through Lord Shri Krishna and the devotee gets that blessing. Only then a person can become a lover of God. When the same Haladini Shakti is adulterated by the external material energy, which means perverted reflection here, that develops into an attraction for Asat. So I was making a point. Think about it. Isn't that funny? Isn't that even ridiculous? A living consciousness, Chetana, is attracted for Asat. And if I can be blunt, and the greatest attraction is sex pleasure. It's the greatest asat feature. And avidya in full form. There is nothing to do with prema. This is just pure kam vasana. And this is how it is. So, therefore, it is said when you want to cultivate prema, this feature cannot have any place into it. And similarly, we cannot see Lord's pastime from our mundane perspective to see that Lord is engaging into this asat activity, sexual activity, when we talk about rasa and other things like that. Text number 69. Mahabhava Swarupa Shri Radha Thakurahani Sarva Guna Khani Krishna Kanta Shiromani. So that Mahabhava develops into Mahabhava, and who is the epitome of that Mahabhava? Mahabhava Swarupa Shri Radha Thakurani. Who is the manifestation, personification of Mahabhava? Shri Radha Thakurani. Sarva Guna Khani. And who is she? She is embodiment of all the qualities. Krishna Kanta Shiromani. And she Kanta Shiromani, she is the crown jewel or the crest jewel of among Krishna's associates. Shri Radha Thakurani is the embodiment of Mahabhava. She is the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel among all the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. Third line of the purport. The essence of Aladini is love of God. The essence of love of God, Bhava, transcendental sentiment. And the highest pitch of that Bhava is called Mahabhava. And which in this chapter alone, when you read further, you'll get to see about that Mahabhava and Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives a little introduction to Antilila, which the later chapters explain in detail about Mahabhava manifestation of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, text number 70. So now question comes, wait a second, there's Chandravali also, the two set of gopis, right? So text number 70, Rupa Goswami says, Srimati Radharani is even greater than Chandravali. Text number 71. I'm not getting into that conversation. I'm focusing on Radharani right now. Krishna prema bhavita yan rachitendriya kaya Krishna nija shakti radha kridara sahaya. So her mind, senses, body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy and she helps him in his pastimes. So purport, two things Prabhupada mentioned. First, Srimati Radharani is fully spiritual as Krishna. She is not an ordinary person. Second, next paragraph. Shri Krishna cannot enjoy anything that is internally different from him. But then it breaks the principle of, what is that?
Atmaram.
Atmaram. You cannot be Atmaram if you're not enjoying with yourself. Like that. Therefore, Radha and Krishna are identical. The Sandhini portion of Shri Krishna's internal potency has manifested the all-attractive form of Shri Krishna. So everything about Shri Krishna also is done by Sandhini, Samvit, Haladini. So the attractive form of Lord Shri Krishna is a manifestation of Sindhini. And through Samvit is what Krishna knows past, present, future. And through Haladini is what Krishna gets transcendental pleasure. That's a text number 72. This is famous shloka. Every morning you recite. Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavet bhavis tabhirya eva nijarupataya kalabhi Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuto Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I like to read word to word for this. How many of you memorize this? We every morning? Most of it have us memorized. If not, we can still recite very easily because every morning Darshanat we play this. This and Venam Kavantam Arvindalayataaksham. And that's the verse talking about the beauty of the Lord. This is particularly talking about spiritual world. What Krishna is doing in spiritual world. Let's take a look at word to word. Ananda Chinmaya Ras Prati Bhavit Bhavis. Ananda bliss, Chit means knowledge. Maya means consisting of. Rasa means mellows. Prati Bhavit Bhavis. Prati means at every step, at every second. Bhavit Abhihi, who are engrossed with. Tabhir ya eva nija rupataya kalabhi, with those, ya means who, eva certainly, nija rupataya, with his own form, nija rupataya, kalabhi, these are his expansions. Kala avatar, that has been discussed before. Goloka eva nivasati akilatma bhuto. So where is this all happening? Goloka Vrindavan. Eva certainly. Nivasati, nivas. Nivasthan. Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuto. Akhilatma as a soul of all bhutaha who exist. Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. I am offering my respectful obeisance to that Govinda. Now, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. So, what is the nature of the spiritual world? Ananda Chinmaya. Every step is full of bliss. And Anand Chinmaya, Nija Rupataya Kalabhi, and Lord is present there, Nija Rupa, is in his own original form. With whom? Kalabhi. Kalavtar expansions. Goloka eva nivasati, and that place is called to be Goloka. This verse is talking about Srimati Radharani. Nija Rupataya Kalabhi. So who is the first expansion of Lord? Halidini potency is Srimati Radharani. Now look at the translation Prabhupada gives. I worship Govinda, the primary Lord who resides in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha. Nija Rupataya Kalabhi. Now if you're going to go with just a basic Sanskrit thing, then you will say there is no Radharani. But if you understand Radha and Krishna are non-different, and they are eternally residing, so there cannot be Krishna without Radharani. Therefore the same verse now says, Prabhupada says, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure and embodies the ecstatic potency. The companions are her confidence, who embody extensions of bodily form and are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. So it talks about all gopas and gopis. Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuto govindamadi purusham tamham bhajami. So therefore Gaudiya do not worship Krishna alone, because Krishna does not exist alone. Krishna is always with, and this manifestation you are seeing in this verse. Goloka eva niva, nija rupataya kalatmani. So kalabihi. So Lord is never alone. This is how Gaudiya Parampara have explained this, and this is the idea here. Okay, anything on so far? How Krishna is, and that's the reason when it came to worship of the Lord, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they established Radharani wherever Krishna was alone. And that's our understanding. That's a very important philosophical point. Therefore, Gaudiyas do not worship Lala. If you further want to get into philosophical understanding, therefore we don't worship. Krishna does not exist for us without Radharani. And we cannot approach Krishna without Radharani. So this worship of Lala is prominent under Vallabh. Like that, is prominent there. So Lala is also Krishna. But then it leads to a little philosophical misunderstanding. If in true sense we are Gaudiya, first of all, our first deity of worship should be Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
He's Radha and Krishna.
Because that is the manifestation of Radha and Krishna. And why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Because worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not involve any aparadha. Where Radha Krishna Prabhupada said, there are a lot of rules and regulations. Now you may ask, then why Nityananda Prabhu? Now we don't have only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the altar. Why Nityananda Prabhu? Yes, Gaudam Prabhu. You have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have Gaunitai. Manjari Sevika, if she is there, she would also have. Lakshman Prabhu is there. Mother Preeti Radha, nahi Preeti Radha, kya naam hai? Leeladhar Prabhu and wife's name? Mother Preeti. Purnamasi, I believe. So they also have Gaunitai. Why do you have Nityananda Prabhu? Gauranga Mahaprabhu is sufficient. Batao.
He's Adi Guru. We are in a Vedic sadhana.
So Adi Guru, okay, nice. Vedic sadhana bhakti. Srila Prabhupada established Nityananda Prabhu. Otherwise, prior to that, it was Gaur Gadadhar. It was not Gaunitai. It was Gaur Gadadhar. Why Gaunitai? Because Prabhupada saw the degradation of the age, and Prabhupada realized or thought that for us, we need mercy of Nityananda Prabhu because we all are Jagai and Vadai. And by the mercy of Nityanand Prabhu, even Jagai Madai got delivered. Therefore, Prabhupada started the worship of God Nitai. So if you go to any Gaudiyas, any Gaudiya Math, you'll always see Gaur Gadadhar. Why Gaur Gadadhar? Gadadhar is Srimati Radharani. So in that way, Gaur Gadadhar was a concept. Krishna and Radharani. But where are we going to? This is very important philosophical points here. I mean, at least we are supposed to speak about it. So at least while we are building a community knows about it. So whom do we worship? Now, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Maharani, that's Mahabhava. That's Mahabhava. Now, why that is allowed? So, Gaunitai, Jagannath, Baldev, and then Shri Radha Krishna, in terms of standards. Why Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra? Because they are also the prominent deity for Kali Yuga. So, there is no aparad in their worship also. So, therefore, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Maharani is also. And coincidentally, interestingly, the first deity that appeared in ISKCON is Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. As far as I understand, historically, I don't think so. Prabhupada had gone to America with an idea of establishing Jagannath temple. He was always speaking about establishing Radha Krishna temple. If you see Lilamrita, it was not that he had thought of, but who appeared first? Jagannath. And that's how spontaneously things happen. The will of providence, because that's how it has to be. Because again, Radha Krishna worship is too high. And then Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Maharani worship also we can take. But what is Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Maharani? That is Mahabhava. Remembering whom? Radharani. If you make the full circle here, remembering whom? Radharani. That's where Jagannath, Baldev. If you go to the core of it, what was being discussed in Vrindavan pastimes? What is Vrindavan pastime? It's incomplete without remembrance of Radharani. So that bhava is because of that. Like that. So that's the whole thing about it. Anyways, theek hai. What we were talking about. Now please listen to how Lord Krishna consorts help him taste rasa and how they help him. So the point I wanted to highlight here, you might wonder why certain stands and certain positions are taken. I'm just giving you background, why it is. And if a person is on the level of sentiment, he will never understand. So Shastra study is extremely important to understand Gaudiya's mood and mission. It's very important, and that Chaitanya Charitamrita becomes extremely important. But to really get into that, our Sambandha Gyan is needed. Remember, we were making a point deeper for yesterday. Prabhupada said, to come to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Leela is only for those who knows Krishna exists and who wants to further build the relationship, which means Sambandha Gyan. So, somebody who has a doubt Krishna exists, somebody who does not know about Krishna, Gauranga Mahaprabhu Leela does not even start for him. So, therefore, Bhagavad Gita, foundation of Sambandha Gyan, then further knowledge who Krishna is, Bhagavatam. When that is settled, then you next go to Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's a flow of study. And that is how it has been. Okay? Let's take one or two verses. I'll pause this discussion. Or maybe Saturday morning we might, anyways I have a youth program, so I might, if I see, then maybe we will continue this discussion tomorrow also then. We'll see that. Okay, let's continue with what? 74, 75? Yeah, right? No, 73. Krishna rakaraye che rasa aswadana Krida rasahaya yeche shuna vivarana. Now please listen to how Lord Krishna consorts help him taste rasa and how they help him in his pastimes. Krishna Kanta Gana Dekhi Trividha Prakara.
Krishna Kanta Gana Dekhi Trividha Prakara.
Eka Lakshmi Gana Pure Mahishi Ganara.
Eka Lakshmi Gana Pure Mahishi Ganara.
The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of three kinds: the goddess of fortune, the queens, and the milkmaids of Braja. But the foremost of all, these consorts all proceed from Radhika. Avatari Krishna Yaiche Kare Avatara.
Avatari Krishna Yeche Kare Avatara.
Amshini Radha Haite Tina Ganera Vista.
Amshini Radha Vite Tina Ganera Vista.
So just like we have all incarnations, Amsha and all that Kala from Krishna, similarly there is from Srimati Radharani also. What is that? Vahe bhavaganayena tanra anga vibhuti bimba pratibimba rupa mahishi ratati. So what are the expansions for Srimati Radharani? The goddess of fortune, a partial manifestation of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. Lakshmi Ganatandra Vaibhav Vilasham Sarupa.
Lakshmi Ganatandra Vaibhav Vilasham Sarupa.
Mahishi Gana Vaibhav Prakasha Swarupa.
Mahishi Gana Vaibhav Prakasha Swarupa.
The goddess of fortune are her planetary portions, and they display the forms of Vaibhav Vilas. The queens are of the nature of her Vaibhav Prakash. Queens means Dwarka queens. Akara Swabhava Bhede Vraja Devi Gana.
Akara Swabhava Vede Vraja Devi Gana.
Kaya Vyuha Rupa Tanra Rasera Karana.
Kaya Vyuha Rupa Tanra Rasera Karana.
The Vraj Devis have diverse bodily features. They are expansions and are instruments for expanding rasa. Bahukanta Vina Nahe Rasera Ullahasa.
Bahukanta Vina Nahe Rasera Ullahasa.
Lila Rasayaga Lagi Bahuta Prakash.
Lila Rasayaga Lagi Bahuta Prakash.
So Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamani. Maybe charge is over. उसको बंद कर दो. Yeah. So Lakshmi Sahasrasha Sambrahma Sevyamani. So that is what is basically saying. Without many consoles, there is not such excultation in rasa. Therefore, there are many manifestations Srimati Radharani to assist in the Lords. So why do you need Lakshmi Sahasrasha? So it's for exchange. Tara Madhya Vrajananam Bhava Rasa Bhede.
Tara Madhya Vrajananam Bhava Rasa Bhede.
Krishna ke karaya rasa di kalila swade. Among them are various groups of consorts in Vraja who have varieties of sentiments and mallows. They have Lord Krishna taste all the sweetness of the rasa dance and other pastimes. Reading the first paragraph. As already explained, Krishna and Radha are 1 and 2. Oh, somebody else can read out. Can you please give the mic to somebody?
As already explained, Krishna and Radha are 1 in 2. They are identical. Krishna expands himself in multi-incarnations and plenary portions like the Purushas. Similarly, Srimati Radharani expands herself in multi-forms as the goddess of fortune, the queens and the damsels of Vraja. Such expansions from Srimati Radharani are all her plenary portions. All these womanly forms of Krishna are expansions corresponding to his plenary expansion of Vishnu forms. These expansions have been compared to reflected forms of the original form. There is no difference between the original form and the reflected forms. The female reflections of Krishna's pleasure potency are as good as Krishna himself.
All right. So I'll read up to 85th verse and we'll pause after that. So I know time is getting over. Just bear with me. Govinda Nandini Radha Govinda Mohini.
Govinda Nandini Radha Govinda Mohini.
Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani.
Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani.
Govinda Nandini Radha Govinda Mohini.
Govinda Nandini Radha Govinda Mohini.
Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani.
Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani.
So who is Srimati Radharani? This is the verse. So this is something which we can memorize. Let's do once more. Govinda Nandini Radha Govinda Mohini.
Govinda Nandini Radha Govinda Mohini.
Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani.
Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani.
Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda. She is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and all of Govinda and the crest jewel of all his consorts. Devi Krishna Mahi Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mahi Sarva Kanti Sammohini Para. This is another verse from Brahat Gautamiya Tantra talking about Srimati Radharani. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddess of fortune. So those who say there is no reference in Shastras, this is one, a very famous shloka. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarva Kantihi Sammohini Paraha. Sammohini, attract, Paraha, supreme, like that. Text number 84. Devi kahi dayutamana parama sundari.
Devi kahi dayutamana parama sundari.
Kimva Krishna puja kridar vasati nagari.
Kimva Krishna puja kridar vasati nagari.
Translation: Devi means resplendent and most beautiful, or else it means the lovely abode of the worship and love sports of Lord Krishna. And the last verse for today, text number 85. Krishna Mai Krishna Yara Bhitare Bahire.
Krishna Mai Krishna Yara Bhitare Bahire.
Yaha Yaha Netra Pade Tana Krishna Spure.
Yaha Yaha Netra Pade Tana Krishna Spure.
Krishna Mai Krishna Yara Bhitare Bahare. So who is Srimati Radharani? For whom anything and everything outside is Krishna, for whom anything and everything within is Krishna. Yaha yaha netra pade tahana Krishna spure. Wherever her eyes fall, she sees only Krishna. Krishna Mai. There's a beautiful bhajan we sang last time. That starts with Krishna Mai. Beautiful, beautiful bhajan. Krishna Mai means one who is within and without our Lord Krishna. She sees Lord Krishna wherever she casts her glance. So, Krishna Prema Mai Radha. That song is, like that. Beautiful song. Alright, so I guess I'll pause here. The discussion continues on up to around 120 verse in this chapter, and then after that, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Mahabhava has been described. Very beautiful discussion, but our time ends here, so we'll pause here. Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jai. Any questions or any comments? Yes, Anantara. Please give the mic.
Which I was thinking that we talked about two extremes. Hladini Shakti, in purport for 68, it was Prabhupada was telling that if we take shelter of Hladini Shakti, then we get pure love of Godhead. And if we don't take shelter of Hladini Shakti, we take shelter of material energy, and the Lord is not pleased or he is not attracted. So in particularly in my case or cases like that where we are not at the two extremes. So how do we take shelter of Hladini Shakti? Are we able to
close the doors? Now this construction sound is going.
So for my particular case, right, where
correct,
basis of our devotion is not pure love, it's more of as a duty, right? So how do we take shelter of Hladini Shakti, and how do we understand that are we taking shelter?
So first is, how do we take shelter of Hladini Shakti? So that's the whole thing at Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, is to follow, who? Guru. Guru's instruction. That is what is the foremost thing. And why? Because we don't do or we don't practice the elements of Bhakti because we have attraction, because Guru has said. Chant 16 hours, yes sir. Follow 4x, yes sir. Read Prabhupada books, yes sir. Attend morning program, yes sir. So that's so what are we trying to cultivate through all this? Although our Naam Japa is not Shuddha Naam, our hearing and reading is not pure, we are coming from completely stooped into Jada. Now we are trying to become Chetna again. So it takes a time. So but what happens by just doing the ritual? Because more or less it's a ritual for us. Just like somebody said to Prabhupada, one of his disciples, I believe secretary or person, Prabhupada, I don't feel like offering obeisances. Prabhupada said, continue doing it. It will develop eventually. So what happens? What will develop is discipline and obedience. Why we are here? Why we are here? Foremost reason. We say envy. Perfect. And what that envy have resulted into? Independent nature. To act whimsically, independently, right? Now to give up that independent nature is what our struggle is. Just like Dhruva Maharaj can attain perfection 6 months, Narad Muni could attain perfection in such a short time. Why can't we do? We are chanting the same mantra. He chanted Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That was recommended for that age. We are chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is given by Guru. Narad Muni gave him that mantra, and our Guru gave him Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Both are potent. Because mantra becomes potent when it comes from Guru. That's about mantra, science of mantra. So why it happening? So this is where the Sharanagati comes into picture. Our surrender. And of course, it is not expected just because we came to the path of bhakti, maybe we are practicing bhakti for the last few years, we can develop 100% surrender. It takes time. And that much we have to have therefore patience. Utsaha Nisha Dharya. Utsaha means whatever we do, we should do with enthusiasm. You have or not, but act enthusiastically. It's very important. Don't be dull, morose like that. It's not for you, it's for the pleasure of Vaishnavas and the Lord. Just seeing you enthusiastic, they'll become enthusiastic. That's the first thing. Second thing is Nishya, the confidence. It will happen. But what is needed? Dharya. Patience. Patience with whom? Patience with oneself. I am so stubborn. I am not willing to change. It's going to take time. For how long can we be stubborn? Material nature is going to beat us down. Maybe we are young, we are strong, we are healthy, we are intelligent. So looks like life is running because of me. I'm able to make material progress because of my intelligence. I'm able to maintain my family because of me. But eventually your intelligence will fade away. Your strength will fade away. Sooner or later we realize it was never because of me. So wait and watch. We will become humble. So for that, dharyat. So it's not expected that thing to happen overnight. But at least when we are walking that path, we should at least be careful of few things. So that we remain on the path. At least we should not give the path. So therefore there are directions given, there are rules and regulations given. It's not expected for me to overnight become a Shuddha Bhakta, and it's not possible also. That is only possible in the case of Kripa Shakti, causeless. Somebody has got a causeless mercy of the Lord. Just like Ajamil got it. So he got darshan of Vishnu Dutas. So that's a unique case. But in our case, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is a gradual progress. Why it is gradual progress? Because of our resistance. The issue is not with the chanting. When you become Raganuga or Shuddha Bhakta, it's not the mantra will change. It's not your practice will change. Everything will remain same. Only thing would have changed is our resistance will be very low. At this point in time, our resistance is very high. And you can observe with yourself. At times our resistance is low, at times our resistance is high. Whenever resistance is high, that's the time when we had been functioning entirely under the influence of mind. Between us and the instructions, between us and Krishna, mind came. And mind began his own, started his own play. Or we brought our contaminated intelligence, logic. This is possible, that is not possible. Like yesterday we were talking about Brahma Bhuta, and yesterday morning also. Prabhupada said impossible is a word in Fool's dictionary. What a confidence. From where did he got his confidence? On the point that Prabhupada said, Krishna can do anything and Krishna can undo anything. And in 2 months to print Chaitanya Charitamrita is a miracle. For us it's a miracle because it doesn't fit our mind. Because it doesn't fit into the limits of our mind, we call it miracle. Prabhupada never called it miracle. Prabhupada never called it. When he got Chaitanya Charitamrita, did he say, oh, this is miraculous? But imagine if you and I would have been at that point of time with Srila Prabhupada, and in front of us, devotee would have brought the copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Imagine if you were there, and devotee have done it. He has got the copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He has printed in 2 months. And you're observing. Think about it. You're there right now in that past time. What you would have said, this is miraculous. Why? Because it does not fit into our mental frame. What doesn't fit in a mental frame becomes miraculous. But Prabhupada never said miraculous. He said, all right, you can go now. This is what Prabhupada said, and he got the copy. He said, all right, you can go. I believe Tamal Krishna Maharaj had come. He was super excited, probably super happy. Prabhupada said, wow, you did it, finally you all did it. I said, okay, all right, now you can leave. Amazing, huh? If you look at this pastime, this is super enchanting, amazing. So resistance is at our end. Therefore, at least, and I often say, at least there should be one relationship where we say no resistance. Or at least try to cultivate that, no resistance. Then only we can move forward. If any and every relationship you're going to have resistance, then you're practicing bhakti independently. Then all that progress and journey will depend on me. Because you have not taken shelter. We have not put down the resistance. So that's what it is. That's how it is. So what Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti has to do? This is what it is. Is it easy? It's not easy. It's difficult? Yeah, it's difficult. Why difficult? Because of me. Not because the process is difficult. Not because Lord is difficult. It's difficult because of me, my mind. Bhaja mana, Shri Nandana. So many things have been said about mind. So now what I've said, please, what I'm seeking, try to observe everything around with that. Now you see what I've said, if you observe around, you'll see some devotees, they just move very smoothly. For some devotees, although they had all the opportunities, maybe they had wonderful skills, talents to engage in the service of the Lord. They were highly skilled, highly talented, maybe intelligent, good managers and whatnot. But there seems to be a lot of hiccups. As why? Resistance. One had low resistance, one had high resistance. And the beauty here is what we need to focus, individually, and what I need to focus with all of you is not talking about skills and talents. It's about resistance. Because one who has low resistance, Krishna would bless him with all the skills and talents which are needed for him to carry out the service. The devotees who painted the beautiful paintings were not artists. Please understand. Because Prabhupada wanted it, Krishna blessed them with the skills of an artist. This is all mercy case. Now because we are an institution, we are a movement, there is another level of pressure at me. Okay, Bharata Purnima is coming, do that. Now, Krishna Janmashtami, do organize this, then there is marathon. So we have to do that organizationally. So we value someone who has skills. But I believe from the day one, I have never emphasized on that. And whenever it has come to skills, I've said that has to be a paid program. That is not something I'm going to get involved into it. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. Let the skills program be taught by somebody. If I'll teach it something. Mridanga, at one Banana I did because there was no Mridanga teacher. But that is not my focus. My focus, you build your skills. Let's get facilities, build your skills. But our focus should be handling resistance, taking care of resistance. And you can think about it. One who will have low resistance, your mercy would flow naturally for that person. And that person would naturally get empowered, would naturally develop everything. And those who have skills and talents but got high resistance, they're doing their bhakti only on the basis of karma. Because that skills and talents is a result of their karma, not bhakti. And one who has a low resistance, you will see he developed everything because of bhakti now, because of blessings. Because of blessings. I can see so many things in my own life. I don't want to make my case here, but reflect upon it. You'll see in your life, and when you observe from this principle around, you'll see that it happens. This is how it functions. So, resistance. And what we are doing through our devotional life is trying to reduce our resistance. Yes or no, when you came for the first day, you're not willing to chant even 2 rounds. Such a high resistance. So what do we tell them? Okay, we're going to chant 10 times Hare Krishna Mantra, right? You all would have chanted, okay, everyone chant 10 times Hare Krishna. That time also your mind would be repealing and whatnot. If you attend my programs that I do, I tell them, okay, everyone chant loudly. During the Kirtan I tell them, because there is so much resistance. And what we're trying to do? We're trying to create facility, we're trying to offer everything so that their resistance goes down. That's what the whole thing is. So our journey had been from the high resistance to some level of resistance, where all of us have got some level of resistance. We all have to see that. So what you need to ask for yourself, what is the level of my resistance now? How I have improved in that? Or else, have my resistance have increased again? I am growing. That leads to another level of resistance because I have grown up now. I have become a big devotee. I have become initiated. That leads to another level of resistance. I know Shastra, another level of resistance. I know more shlokas, another level of resistance. Because I know shloka does not mean you know anything. That's another level of resistance. So you see how we create resistances for us? So what we need to ask ourselves, what is the level of my resistance? Because that is taken care, everything for. Why? Because that is what is reducing or interfering in grace. Because when you have high resistance, current doesn't flow through, right? Only low resistance current flows. So grace is not flowing through in our life is because of high resistance. And that devotee who was big devotee, who was thinking has become a big devotee, eventually will begin to experience no tushti and no pushti, because grace has got limited now. And therefore, after practicing for so many years, devotees leave. Why would somebody leave? There's just no question of leaving this. Just does not make sense. So if you know anyone, let's say both of you were there in America, you're coming from the high resistance, environment, high resistance environment. फिर भी यहाँ थोड़ा हमने culture बना रखा है कि यहाँ तो फिर भी stable है. You go in big communities, high resistance. So many things happen. So many egos are playing factors. So many ego battles. I am a counselor. I am this. I am a temple leader. I am a TMC. So many different levels of resistance going through. Still things are okay here. But you have come from, now if you, in case you have seen somebody blooped in your stay or something, now think about it. If you knew their life, you'll see resistance was playing. Resistance was playing a major role. So that's how it is, and that's how it's function. All right. I hope I answered your question quite elaborately.
So I was so...
Does that answer?
No, there's one more point.
No, but the first question gets answered.
Yes,
first.
yes.
Okay, you say that first. पता लगा मैं अपनी धुन में कुछ भी कर रहा हूँ. All right, go ahead.
So does that mean that Haladini Shakti shelter will only get once there is no resistance, or...
No. Not like that. It begins. Because Haladini Shakti is Srimati Radhani. She is very merciful. The moment you chant once Krishna, your devotional life begins. But how often do you say? That often you take shelter of Radharani. So it's not that after 100%. If that were the case, none of us would be sitting here. I wouldn't be sitting as a brahmachari. How is it possible for me to do that? No, it doesn't do that. So therefore Radharani is what? Most compassionate. Why? Because she doesn't see your qualification. Because you just said once that I want to take shelter of Krishna. Hare Krishna mantra is that only, na? She becomes kind to you. But that reciprocation is how much you want to reciprocate, how much you want that grace. That's how it happens. Okay? Okay, so all right, it's late now, 9:15, we'll pause here. Tomorrow if we'll have a session on this topic further, we'll see that, we'll announce it. I'll have to check with the team here because that's for their youth program. So if they say no, so we'll not. If they say yes, we'll continue with Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all. Hare Krishna. Yeah.